Well, here we are. Ultimately, I promised you we'd get there under the 5 hour mark, and we did get there. But it was worth the wait because of what we saw towards the end of the innings. It almost seems another era when Shikhar Dhawan came close to his 18th ODI 100, when Virat Kohli had such a fluent half century. And it seems the second match that India were playing, getting 112 runs in the last 10 overs from a man who had never played an ODI before, and another who apparently had forgotten how to bat in the T20 format, and he was trying to find a place for himself, ended up batting in the middle order and getting another half century. Just about catching my breath. 317 for 5 after those 2 or 3 matches were played. Shikhar Dhawan, 98. Very unfortunate. Well-deserved 18th ODI 100. But look at that at the bottom. KL Rahul, 62 of 43. And Krunal Pandya playing his first one-day international. 58 not out of just 31 deliveries. Well, here we are to discuss it all, to look back, and of course to look ahead, with England hurting a little bit, literally and figuratively. Michael Vaughan, we'll come to Sam Billings and Owen Morgan's availability or lack of in a bit. But what about that effort in the last 10 overs?
Yeah, tremendous. Krunal Pandya on debut. At times, he was swinging the bat like Sir Gary Sobers. That lovely kind of high back lift, the follow through, the emotion on reaching a half century, looking up to his father. His brother clapping him in the dugout. It was a special moment, a wonderful start to his international career. England were excellent until the last 10 overs. It just baffles me how England can have Ben Stokes bowling 8 overs, 3 for 30 odd, and yet you've got these other bowlers travelling to all parts. How Ben hasn't been able to get those final 2 overs out, I'm not too sure. Whether they're just set in stone about who's the death bowlers and who aren't. That's what it looks like to me. But it looks like a challenge in total. And you mentioned Sam Billings. They say he could be able to bat, but he can't be as fit, obviously, as he was at the start of the game. He's had issues with that shoulder. And obviously the captain himself has got 4 stitches in his webbing on his right hand, his top hand. Owen Morgan's not one that uses the top hand as much as some, so he might get away with it because he generally uses the bottom hand more often. But, you'd have to say that the score's a good one, and it's going to take some chasing, particularly when you've got a couple of players down.
Joy, obviously, at the end of an innings, the first thing you end up talking about is the 98 or even a 50 from the captain. But strangely, we're not talking about that. And if you had been told, Joy, a quick fire half century from Pandya, how often would you have said Hardik Pandya?
No, I was just absolutely. And I was just looking at one list, which is quite amazing. You look at it, Krunal Pandya, Ishan Kishan, Suryakumar Yadav, Natarajan, Shubman Gill, Siraj, Shardul Thakur, all of these players, all of these guys have made their debut in the new format in the last 3 to 4 months from India, starting from Australia. And each and every one of them has come to the party. I mean, you haven't got a dud. Even you stick somebody in, he's a reserve bowler, becomes part of the squad, goes and plays a match, goes and gets 3 wickets for India. I mean, all these guys, and that shows you the level of preparation out there. Krunal Pandya was ready. Krunal Pandya would look around and said that this is nothing compared to a pressure Mumbai CSK game at the Wankhede, and just smash it all over the park. And he was absolutely superb. And those are the kind of things that I think have made such a difference. He was just batted with so much confidence and so much self-belief. That, I think, is a commodity that Indian cricket has somehow just built over the last 6 months.
Yeah, I think that phrase that Joy just used, Michael, self-belief. I mean, obviously, the talent has to be there. You have to score a few runs in domestic cricket. You have to push your way into the team. But once you do that, the rest is up to you. If you don't have that self-belief in yourself, you won't be able to walk out in your first game against a decent side and score runs like that.
Yeah, but I think it helps when you've seen recent players do it. When you've seen Ishan Kishan and Suryakumar Yadav go out there and just strike it. Team members, Mumbai Indians. I just keep saying you, Krunal Pandya, a Mumbai Indian. I'll keep beating the drum for the Mumbai Indians because they have an exceptional group of players. When you've seen your close pals go out there and represent the country and do it with so much ease at the first time of asking, you've played with these guys. Krunal's played with his brother. He's played with Ishan Kishan. He's played with Suryakumar Yadav. He knows that he can match it with their talent and their ability and their mindset. So it was his start. To go out there and India under pressure. It wasn't that he came in with India on top. And that's what really impresses me about a lot of these younger or new to the Indian team's mentality. a lot of them, you go to the Australia Test match series, it wasn't that the Indians were on top when these younger players were thrown in. They were behind the 8 ball. And all of a sudden, they've gone out and produced magnificent performances. And the same again today. Krunal Pandya walks out there, England on top, India looking like getting 260, 270. And all of a sudden, within 20 balls, he got KL Rahul going. The way that he played, he got the experienced pro going. So full credit. Whatever the culture that they've created in that dressing room, Ravi Shastri, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane back in Australia as captain, it's working because they're all going out there. And you mentioned the world, the self-belief. Yes, that has to come from within, but it also is created from the environment that the team has created in itself. So Virat and Ravi Shastri deserve a lot of credit for that environment that they're creating.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a point one generally picks up on. And Joy, that's what Michael pointed out. Not just once. I would go so far as to say every single time in test match number 2, 3, and 4 in Australia, we were behind, or India was behind, and they came back. Here again, the first 10 overs, solid start, yes, but not a flying start. 31 to 40, it was average at best, and this confirms it. Look at that, 46 for 3, and those were 3 huge wickets that fell. Scoring at 4.6 when really that's your first phase of starting to accelerate. And these 2 guys, as I said, one who'd never played an ODI before and one who had been struggling for form in the last few weeks, Joy.
Absolutely. And I think the clever thing is how they did it. I mean, where, he started by hitting through mid-wicket because he knew there wasn't a deep fielder. Their mid-wicket was in. When they pushed it back, he hit a cover drive through that. Those 3 fours that he hit in that first over that he played, that really set it up. The way he hit those fours, the way he sort of almost forced them to spread the field. And then particularly memorable for me is another shot where he just, I think it was Stokes, where he just hit him over his head straight for a 4. And that immediately, he made the English bowlers rethink their lengths. And Mark Wood was really successful. Remember, Mark Wood's come in his he bowled very well at the top. He made Rohit very uncomfortable, hit him on the funny bone. Then he comes back, gets a couple of overs, does his job again. And Mark Wood gets smashed at the end. I mean, that's something that you don't see. He goes for 21 runs in an over. And a bowler of Mark Wood's quality going for that kind of run just shows you how much these guys had just put the pressure back on the English team.
Yeah, I think you could take your pick which one was your favorite. I'd pick the last ball of the 49th over when KL Rahul played this sort of shot without looking up. I mean, there are some batsmen who like to the Spiceman in the West Indies. He likes to hold the pose for the photographers. Washington Sundar's done it a couple of times, but KL Rahul didn't look up, just hit it down the ground saying, I know that's 6, flat 80-meter 6, and that was special. But, it just shows that once the confidence is back, it almost borders on arrogance, but arrogance in a good way.
Also, I have one theory. Which I just want to say that, it's been very clever of Owen Morgan. Firstly, I want to say that Owen Morgan can never be a footballer. Because after splitting that injury, if you saw him walking off, he was walking off as if he wanted to just visit the loo for 5 minutes. He's got 4 stitches. He split his finger. Any footballer with a half a touch would be rolling in agony 3 times waiting for the ref to blow the whistle. So Owen Morgan's not going to be a footballer. You can't take pain like that and not flinch at all at Owen Morgan. Secondly, Gautam, do you think this is a very, very clever tactic? You know what India's game plan is. Lose the first one, come back and smash the opposition. Have they changed the game plan out here? Morgan said, we're not going to let you do that. I know that's what you're going to try and do. We're not going to allow you to do that. So that's my conspiracy theory out here.
As to why Ben Stokes didn't bowl at the end.
Yeah, that accounts for it, Michael.
Fair enough. But Michael, coming back to what we were saying, just KL Rahul, and the reason why I was bringing him up in terms of that pose was that was only possible if he was batting in the middle order. And it's not that he hasn't performed. He has performed at that slot.
Yeah, it suits him. Great numbers, consistency. Back in Australia, he played nicely. He got that tremendous 100 against New Zealand. Very consistent in that middle of the innings. He clearly likes the fact of going out there knowing that the game's already set up. In the T20 games, he's sent out the top and he didn't quite get into his groove, didn't get his rhythm going. But at number 5, he can just assess the situation. It gives him a few more balls to get in. And I thought it was his pull shot off Sam Curran. He played a pull shot into the stands off Sam Curran, and you could see that the confidence started to come back. He'd finally hit one out of the middle of the bat. That's always a nice feeling as a batter when you've not been getting too many runs. And as I mentioned before, Krunal Pandya came out there and just played with so much freedom, and he was so fearless that I think KL Rahul looked at him and went, I'll take a piece of that. I'll play in a similar fashion. So it was a tremendous partnership. And when KL Rahul plays to the fashion that we've seen him today, he's a glorious player to watch on the eye. He just makes it look so easy.
Yeah, but again, I think one of the talking points will be about not just Ben Stokes, but we felt, I know, Joy, we were talking earlier, Adil Rashid plus Moeen Ali had already completed 10 overs. So it looked like you were okay to park them for those 10 overs and bowl everyone else. And Ben Stokes, technically, who could be your fifth bowler, was bowling the best of all. And yet, Adil Rashid got a couple more overs, got hit yet again, and Stokes is sitting there, 8 overs, 1 maiden, 3 for 34.
Yeah, and you know what I find even more paradoxical? You ended up bowling for 4 hours and 12 minutes. So it's not as if you were trying to save the over rate out here. Your over rate is way out. Okay, there are a couple of injuries, but even if you take those injuries out, the over rate was way, way, way off. And I think Michael's made that point that it's clearly maybe teams are not used to fielding 50 overs. They're just slower between overs. That's happening. It's catching up. 20 over cricket and just being fit for 50 overs to run around is not happening. But yeah, if you're not doing that, how on God's earth do you bring them back when Stokes is bowled smartly at that period in time? Is something I just do not understand.
Yeah, I know you briefly mentioned, Michael. The other theory was that it was the split webbing. He was getting a bit worried about how he'd fetch the wallets to be able to pay his part of the match fee. But it's something that has to be done. It's just that percentage of a match fee is not enough, is it?
No, I mean, to be honest, guy, I'm sick and tired of mentioning over rates, and it doesn't really matter which format. Test match cricket, the over rates are appalling. We saw it in the T20 series that's just gone, and now 4 hours, 12 minutes to bowl 50 overs. Okay, there's injuries. Okay, there's DRS, but I'm sorry, it's just taking too long, and I'm actually sick and tired. And many, ex-players like myself, who are pundits, we speak out about it quite a lot, but the ICC just turn a blind eye. It's almost as if they're not bothered, but it's hurting the game because 4 hours and 12 minutes for 50 overs. I've got a little lad who's watching it and he gets bored and he's a cricket nut. It's like, come on, Dad, they need to get on with this. And I think it's down to the ICC and also the players that are playing the game now to understand that we need it to be quickened up. It's not diluting the process of the actual performance because they're all very good. It's just in between overs. I don't think there's enough activity. Certainly, as you mentioned, the fines don't work because the players don't bat an eyelid for a 20% fine. Not bothered. They earn so much anyway. It doesn't really hurt them. There's two things. I think they have to bring in the runs per over. So England should have been penalised today. I don't know how many overs that are worked out that they were over, but they should be penalised. So that score should potentially be 20 or 30 more by adding more runs because they've been over the overs. I'd also look at putting a big digital clock in the corner of the ground, and as soon as the first ball is bowled, click, it starts, and you've got your allotted time, and every time there's a break, you press stop, so the players know exactly the kind of time they've got to bowl the overs in. And there just needs to be more penalties other than a percentage of your match fee. It has to hurt more on that given day to the performance of the team because, as I said, it's just taking too long. And the ICC and the BCCI and the ECB will probably enjoy the fact of putting a big clock in the side of the ground because they can get it sponsored, and you know what? They can earn a few more quid. So that's perfect. They earn a few more quid. The players understand what the time frame is, and you know what? If you don't bowl your overs inside that time frame, you're penalised by runs, so it hurts you on that day, not by charging them a few grand. They've got that many pockets and that many grands in the pocket that just using one to pay off one fine, it's not going to hurt them. So get a big clock, get a stopwatch, get the game moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of all the watch companies, Joy.
No, absolutely. I think the Eden Gardens did have that. I don't know if the relationship still exists, but they had a top watch manufacturer put in a nice big clock for the ground. And of course, it's a sponsored clock. But again, the only problem here, what's happening, Michael, is that if it belongs to the stadium, the ICC or the IPL will not show it that often because it often conflicts with their own sponsors. So it's all these... Yeah, so all these things happen. So below a certain height, belongs to the ICC or the IPL or whoever has the rights. Above that belongs to the stadium. So very often you'll see, as I said, they try not to show above that because those are the local sponsors, those are the sponsors the stadium sell. But I'm sure, I think yours is a fantastic idea. And also the fact of that it needs to stop during a break. So they actually, which the third umpire should control, he should say, okay, stop the clock now. Correct. And those are the kind of things that will make a difference. It will really, really make a difference to the game. There's no reason not to have done it. Football has done it. We now know extra time, how many minutes are being added over all the time. Why can't they do it in cricket?
The best thing that could happen, Joy, and it's when you get players that get injured and they take a time out of the game and they have to do what we do. You sit at home and you watch it on the television and you ask those players and they go, it takes a long time, doesn't it? It's quite boring. It's slow. Absolutely. And you're playing. So when you get back to being fit and back in the team, push your teammates on. It's so important that the players that are playing the game as we speak now understand the importance of the product that comes through the TV screen. And if it gets like it has done in the T20s, as it is doing obviously today in the 50s, it's just far too slow. Get on with the game.
Yep. So I think it's a clear message out there, given how much time the innings has taken. But as I mentioned, it felt like more than one game in play. We've already talked about the end of it, the end of the film. Let's go towards the earlier part. And Shikhar Dhawan Joy was under pressure. He knew he had to sort of get in there. He nearly fulfilled Michael Vaughan's demand of a 3-figure score. But I think he'll be very happy with the 98 that he got. Unfortunate to have hit it straight to Eoin Morgan.
Yeah, he was absolutely superb. I mean, he gave a couple of chances. Of course, the first one was a blinder with Jason Roy. Just the fact that he stopped at 4 from going was absolutely brilliant. The second one, Moeen spilled, but having got those 2 chances, Shikhar normally makes those count. So he'd be a bit disappointed not to get there. But 98, I thought he anchored it at the top. And what he did again was that he managed to get the run. He was not the most fluent. I mean, Rohit was fluent when Rohit was there. And then Virat took over. But Shikhar, again, was the sort of anchor man. And this is what I love about these top 3 for India. What happens a lot of them is that every day, one of the guys can be the anchor while the other one becomes the aggressor. And it's not a fixed role. Because they're also versatile that Shikhar can be the anchor one day and the aggressor the other day, just because it depends on who's hitting the ball better that particular day. And then change roles when the next batsman comes in. And that flexibility shows you the maturity that top 3 give you. And that's why, India's middle order has not performed so well. And one of the reasons they have is they haven't had the chance. The top 3 have dominated Indian cricket in the last 4-5 years. And these are the 3 guys who've done it for us.
Yeah, I think that Shikhar had once mentioned that similar role reversal when he used to open with David Warner for the Sunrisers. And there it was. I mean, Warner seems like he can only be the aggressor. But he clearly said, if I saw a spark with Shikhar at the other end, you're the man today. And they would keep doing that. But Michael, with Moeen Ali, and I think we'll make this reference one more time, the first catch, when you toss a bottle to someone, this is how you take it. And down it goes. The second time around, he reminded himself, no, cricket ball. Let me catch it this way, and he got it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to feel for Moeen Ali. He's just not been playing, and then you're suddenly out there playing a high-level game of international cricket. So you can understand he was a bit rusty with the ball and rusty in the field. That's understandable. Shikhar Dhawan was great. I think when you watch Shikhar Dhawan and when he's playing like he's done today, the first word is balance. He just looks so balanced at the crease when he's playing those drives through the offside, and then he's got that flick through mid-wicket. Great options against the spinners. It got to around the 20th over, 25th over, and you just felt that the first 2 balls of every over that he faced, he looked for a boundary. He looked to put more pressure on the bowlers. At the start of his innings, both he and Rohit Sharma just batted. We're more than happy to see out overs, but as soon as they got in, and particularly Shikhar Dhawan, when he got in, then Virat Kohli came out there, you just felt that those first 2 balls of every over, they were targeting a boundary to get themselves on top. That's smart one-day cricket. Exactly what you have to do is try and force the issue with an early boundary or 2, and he's got so many options: front foot, back foot, sweeps, down the ground. He's a wonderful player to watch when he's in form.
Yeah, balance is one word. The other one that comes to mind, Joy, is also his placement. I mean, yes, of course, there has to be timing. There has to be
Okay. Well, I think placement is one of those factors that makes a huge difference. I think Shikhar is a kind of player that when he times the ball, when he's on song, again, he gets one good hit and he looks better again. Michael, I've seen Shikhar through the years, and even when he made it to Test cricket and he made that fantastic century in debut, he depends on that one good hit to get himself going, and then he's off to the races.
Yeah, and I think that's why he doesn't concern himself at right at the top of the innings. He doesn't go searching for too many things, because he knows even when the field spreads from the 10th over, he's got the power and the placement and the timing to be able to hit boundaries, even when the boundaries are riders are out on the boundary. And that's what he did. As soon as the spinners came on, he was pulling the ball into the gap, just kind of playing those drives that were just beating the boundary riders as well. They have nice bats in the hand, as pretty much every player in the world has had for the last 20 years. The boundaries kind of come in, the outfields are quick. So he maximises when he gets an opportunity. He was, looking set for a 150. Never mind 100. He was looking well set for a 150 plus. So yeah, we're delighted with the 98, but slightly disappointed he didn't go and get the real big individual score.
Now let's try and put this entire innings in perspective. In isolation, obviously the way they played their last, outstanding. But in isolation, 50 over cricket, 317, 318 doesn't look like that much of a mountain to climb if you know what you're chasing. However, Michael, with Owen Morgan, with that split webbing, and Sam Billings, we're not sure about the shoulder. Is that going to be a bit of a handicap?
Yeah, it has to. And also, Jason Roy, he's searching for a bit of form. Bairstow to the top of the order. You fancy that it's going to need a powerful opening burst. Where will the captain bat? Where's Ben Stokes going to bat? It's all up in the air. We're not too sure what order England are going to come out with. Moeen Ali hasn't been playing any cricket. Sam Curran has not been. Well, Sam and Tom's not been playing too much cricket. So who knows what England will throw at in terms of a batting order. One thing's for sure, they'll have a go. They're very powerful. They're dangerous. Any England side that's got a fit Joss Buttler and a Joss Buttler playing well, that he can get pretty much any score on his own. He's that good a player. So I think it's going to be close. I just fancy India. I just think India have got a half decent score on the board, and with the fact that England have got those two players that we've mentioned with an eagle and players that haven't really been in that much of great form, and a few that haven't been playing, I think it might be just a few too many runs.
Yeah, I think Ben Stokes' place in the batting order will be talked about in that dressing room. Which of the two captains it was who denied Ben Stokes' 2 overs? Well, he'll just have to go to the other one and say, Sir, can I please have a bat? Joy?
Yeah, also, remember one thing. Ben Stokes knows this ground very well. He was a star for the rising Pune Super Giants 4 years back. He came out here, he got 10 wickets, he got 280 odd runs. He was a fantastic player for them. And that's one of the things that they'll be looking at, saying, Ben would be looking at the dressing room and says, this feels like home. He knows these conditions well. And he knows, for example, you knew that he knew what to do with the ball in the time that he was bowling out here. He knows this pitch. And that's definitely a plus. And if Morgan, for example, can't bat at 3, I'd be fairly interested in seeing Stokes go in there and said, mate, it's your day, just go and make it count.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen him score 100 at number 3 in this format. So, in fact, on this very ground. So I think there is a case for that, to look at the score in isolation and look at it as 6 point something rather than having to go at 11s and 12s towards the latter half. Michael, to finish off with India's bowling, they will have 6 bowling options, and they'll have a debutant who will be absolutely buoyed, because to me, the image of the moment, which I was just eavesdropping on a little while ago, was when he came back to the dressing room, Hardik and Krunal really broke down after that innings, almost as if to say, if only Dad could have been down here watching it rather than keeping it up from up there.
Yeah, special moments. Obviously, 2 brothers very close to the father as well. So completely understand the emotional side of what those 2 are going through. He played great, and that's all you can do. His father will be looking, don't worry. His father will be on a nice chair looking down, and he'll be very proud of the way that Krunal's gone out and batted. He'll be hoping that they bowl as a pair. The brothers bowling as a pair. I'm sure we might get to see that as well. So, India have got themselves in a good position. I'm looking forward to seeing the young quick. I'm also looking forward to seeing Bhubaneswar Kumar. We saw him in the last T20. He was outstanding. And particularly to Jason Roy, that ball that's angling back, nibbling back, he'll target his pads early. And Jason and Johnny Bairstow sometimes leave quite a big gap between bat and pad. And if you get the ball nipping back into the stumps, it can be very productive for the bowling unit. So I'm looking forward to seeing the skill elements of the senior bowler in Bhattacharjya Kumar.
Yeah, I think that should be India's bowling unit. But I think to finish off, Joy, Prasidh Krishna again will look at someone like Krunal Pandya, of course, who's had an emotional moment, but he's had a great debut, and he'll say, okay, fine, if he can do that with bat in hand, give me the ball. They'll be chomping at the bit.
Yeah, they will be. Absolutely. I think he's going to give it a good go, and I think 317, 318 is a decent total to bowl at. The other guy who will also be very eager to make an opportunity count is Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep, he's been on the fringes, hasn't had a chance. This is his confidence boost, his spongy bounce for the kind of spinner that he is. So he might just get a little bit more out of this ground than even Moin does. Let's see how it turns out, because he tends to flight it just that slight bit more, tends to give a bit more to the ball. So let's see how he does out here, because it'll be vital. The spinners have gone. If the Indian spinners, that's Krunal and Kuldeep, can hold it back, if the two Ks can hold it back for India, I think that is the game. That is the game. The English spinners could not hold it back. I think the English fast bowlers and the Indian fast bowlers will play off. I think on average, you'd say that the English fast bowlers are probably superior other than Bhuvaneshwar Kumar in technique and quality. But I think the Indian spinners, this is the day that, if they can get 20 good overs out of them, it could change the match.
Yep, as Joy mentioned, the two Ks, one this and one this. If they can both bowl well in tandem, should really provide good support to the likes of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. Prasidh Krishna playing his first game. He'll be excited. We're all excited to see the chase. We're not going to have any more predictions right now, because as we wrap up the show, it is Michael Vaughan who got it almost spot on. 164 was the magic number, which for 50 over cricket, he doubled to 328. And with the 15-run margin, India's 317 was well in there. So well done, Michael. Thank you, Joy. And we'll see all of you in the 15th over, when England will hopefully be trying to make some rapid progress towards the 318. We'll see you then.